Commander Jake Miller stood on the bridge of the UES Hope's Dawn, watching the stars stretch into lines as they dropped out of faster-than-light travel. The view never got old, even after 15 years in space. But today, the beauty of deep space couldn't calm the worry in his chest. "We're entering the Kepler 442 system now, Commander," reported Navigation Officer Sam Davis from his station. His young face showed the same concern that Jake felt. This wasn't a normal mission. Jake nodded and turned to face his crew. The bridge was quiet except for the soft hum of computers and life support systems. Everyone knew why they were here. 3 days ago, Earth had picked up a desperate message from an alien species called the Volanti. Their sun was dying, sending out deadly flares that were cooking their water world. They needed help, and they needed it fast. "Any word from our escort ships?" Jake asked. "The Mercy's light is keeping pace on our port side," Sam replied, checking his screens. "Captain Rodriguez confirms the New Horizon is maintaining formation to starboard." Jake looked out at the 2 other ships flying alongside them. The Mercy's light was a medical frigate packed with doctors, nurses, and the most advanced hospital equipment Earth could provide. Dr. Lisa Carter, their chief medical officer, had volunteered for the mission along with 300 other medical staff. They knew the risks of first contact with an alien species, but they couldn't ignore a cry for help. The New Horizon was their largest ship, a massive transport vessel carrying terraforming equipment and evacuation pods. Captain Ben Rodriguez had loaded it with everything they might need to save an entire civilization. Food, water, atmospheric processors, and emergency shelters filled every cargo bay. "Commander," called Communications Officer Amy Brooks from her station. "I'm picking up Admiral Thompson's message on the command channel." Jake pressed a button on his chair. Admiral Kate Thompson's voice filled the bridge, transmitted from Earth Command just hours ago. "All ships of Rescue Fleet Alpha, this is Admiral Thompson. You carry with you not just supplies and medicine, but the hopes of all humanity. The Volanti are the first alien species to reach out to us in friendship. How we respond will define who we are as a people. Remember, you are not soldiers. You are healers, builders, and guardians of life. Make us proud." The message ended, leaving the bridge in thoughtful silence. Jake had served under Admiral Thompson for 7 years. She was tough but fair, and she believed deeply in humanity's duty to help others. When the Volanti distress call reached Earth, she had personally chosen every person for this mission. "Estimated arrival at the Volanti homeworld?" Jake asked. 6 hours, Commander," Sam answered. "We should be able to see their planet on long-range sensors in about 20 minutes. Jake walked over to the large viewing screen at the front of the bridge. Space looked empty and peaceful, but he knew that could change quickly. The Volanti had mentioned other ships in their solar system, ships that didn't respond to their calls for help. "Any sign of other vessels in the system?" he asked. Lieutenant Tom Walsh, their sensor officer, shook his head. "Nothing yet, sir, but we're still pretty far out. If there are ships near the Volanti world, we won't see them until we get closer." Dr. Lisa Carter's voice came through the intercom from the Mercy's light. "Commander Miller, this is Dr. Carter. My medical teams are ready for immediate deployment. We've prepared for every scenario we could think of." "Understood, Doctor. We'll know more once we see what we're dealing with." Jake had read the Volanti message dozens of times. Their language was musical, flowing like water, but the translation software had captured their fear clearly. They were a peaceful people who had never known war. Their technology was advanced in some ways, but weak in others. They could send messages across space, but couldn't build ships fast enough to evacuate their entire population. The worst part was the timeline. The Volanti had maybe 2 weeks before their sun's next big flare would boil away their oceans. Even with Earth's best evacuation ships, they could only save a fraction of the population. But they had to try. "Commander," Sam called out, his voice tense. "I'm getting something on long-range sensors." Jake hurried back to the command area. "What do you see?" "Multiple contacts near the 4th planet. That should be the Volanti homeworld." Sam's fingers moved quickly across his controls. "I count at least 12 ships, maybe more. They're big, Commander, much bigger than us." "Are they Volanti ships?" Tom Walsh spoke up from the sensor station. Negative, sir. The energy signatures are all wrong. These ships are putting out massive power readings. The Volanti described their vessels as small and peaceful. These contacts look like warships. Jake felt ice form in his stomach. Can you identify the ship types? Working on it, Tom replied. The computer is running comparisons against our database of known alien vessels. A few tense minutes passed. Finally, Tom looked up with a grim expression. Commander, I think these are Krill ships. Everyone on the bridge went quiet. The Krill were not unknown to Earth. They were a military empire that had been expanding across this part of the galaxy for decades. Every species that made contact with Earth warned about them. The Krill took what they wanted and destroyed what they couldn't use. Are you certain? Jake asked. The signatures match reports from the Centauri. Traders, Tom confirmed. Heavy battle cruisers and attack frigates. This is a full battle group. Amy Brooks looked up from her communication station. Commander, I'm picking up transmissions from the planet. It sounds like fighting. Jake closed his eyes for a moment. They had come to save lives, but they might be flying into a war zone. He opened his eyes and looked at his crew. They were scared but determined. These people had volunteered to risk their lives for strangers. They wouldn't back down now. All ships, this is Commander Miller, he announced on the fleet channel. We have confirmed Krill presence in the system. Our mission remains the same. We will attempt to rescue as many Volanti as possible. All crews, prepare for emergency operations. The Hope's Dawn continued toward the Volanti homeworld, followed by her 2 escort ships. Behind them, space was empty and silent. Ahead of them, an unknown danger waited among the stars. The viewing screen on the Hope's Dawn showed a scene that would haunt Jake Miller for the rest of his life. The beautiful blue world of the Volanti was burning. Massive ships hung in orbit like metal vultures, raining fire down on the peaceful planet below. My God, whispered Amy Brooks, her hand covering her mouth. The communications officer had seen combat footage before, but this was different. This was genocide happening right in front of them. Commander, I'm reading 12 Krill battleships, reported Tom Walsh from sensors. They're bombing population centers. The Volanti don't appear to have any defenses. Jake watched the destruction through the main viewer. Explosions bloomed like deadly flowers across the planet's surface. Each flash of light meant thousands of innocent lives snuffed out. The Volanti had called for help, and help had come too late. Open a channel to all Krill vessels, Jake ordered. His voice was steady, but his hands shook with anger. All frequencies. Channel. Open, Commander, Amy replied. Jake stepped forward. This is Commander Jake Miller of the Earth vessel Hope's Dawn. We are a humanitarian mission here to assist the Volanti people. We are not armed and pose no threat. Please cease your attack on civilian targets. The bridge fell silent as they waited for a response. Seconds stretched into minutes. On the screen, the bombardment continued without pause. Anything? Jake asked. Amy shook her head. They're ignoring us, Commander, but I am picking up chatter on their military frequencies. They know we're here. Suddenly, the largest Krill ship turned toward them. It was massive, easily 10 times the size of the Hope's Dawn. Its hull was dark metal covered in weapon ports and armor plating. This was a ship built for one purpose: destroying other ships. Commander, Tom called out, his voice tight with fear. The lead battleship is targeting us. Repeat our message, Jake ordered. Tell them we're medical personnel. We have doctors and supplies for the wounded. Amy broadcast the message again. The response came immediately, but not in words. Energy beams lanced out from the Krill ship, bright red lines of death crossing the space between them. Incoming fire, Tom shouted. Brace for impact. The beams struck the New Horizon first. Captain Rodriguez's supply ship exploded in a ball of flame and metal. 847 people died in that instant. Doctors, engineers, teachers, and volunteers who had come to save lives were vaporized without warning. Rodriguez, Jake screamed, but there was no answer. The New Horizon was gone, along with all the terraforming equipment and evacuation pods they had brought to save the Volanti. More energy beams reached out for the Mercy's light. Dr. Carter's medical ship tried to turn away, but it was too slow. The beams tore through the hull, ripping apart the hospital wards and surgical bays. "Mercy's light is hit," Amy reported. "I'm getting emergency signals from all decks." Dr. Carter's voice came through the radio, filled with static and pain. "Hope's Dawn, this is Carter. We're losing life support on decks 3 through 7. Medical bay is gone. I have wounded everywhere." Jake felt helpless rage fill his chest. These were healers, people who had devoted their lives to saving others. The Krill were murdering them for trying to help. "Can we get them out?" Jake asked his crew. "Negative," Tom replied. "The Krill ships are moving to surround us. If we try to dock with the Mercy's light, they'll destroy us both." On the communications channel, Dr. Carter's voice grew weaker. "Jake, listen to me. You need to get word back to Earth. Tell them what happened here. Tell them the Krill attacked a medical mission. Tell them we died trying to save innocent people." "Lisa, we're not giving up," Jake said. "We'll find a way." "No." Her voice was firm despite her injuries. "Your job now is to survive. Someone has to tell our story." The Krill battleship fired again. This time the beams found the Hope's Dawn. The ship shook as explosions tore through the outer hull. Emergency lights flashed red, and the smell of burning electronics filled the air. "Hull breach on Deck 4, called out Lieutenant Paul Green, from damage control. "We're losing atmosphere." Jake looked around his bridge. His crew was scared but still at their posts. These people trusted him to get them home alive. But the Krill ships were closing in and there was nowhere to run. "Amy, can you get a message back to Earth?" "The communication array is damaged, but I think I can boost the signal through the emergency beacon." "Do it. Send everything. Our mission logs, sensor readings, everything about what the Krill did here." Amy's fingers flew over her controls. "Message away, Commander. It should reach Earth in about 3 days." Another hit rocked the ship. This time the lights went out completely. In the darkness, Jake could hear his crew working by emergency, lighting, trying to keep their ship alive just a little longer. "Commander." Tom's voice was barely a whisper. "I'm reading Krill boarding shuttles approaching our docking bay." Jake closed his eyes. They had lost. The mission had failed. And now, they would all die or be captured. But maybe their message would reach Earth. Maybe someone would remember that they had tried. The ship shuddered as the Krill shuttles docked. Heavy footsteps echoed through the corridors as alien soldiers boarded their vessel. "All hands," Jake announced over the ship's intercom. "This is the commander. We fought well. We came here to save lives, and that honor remains ours even in defeat." The bridge doors exploded inward. Krill soldiers poured in, their weapons raised. They were tall and covered in dark armor, their faces hidden behind combat masks. They moved, like professional killers, which Jake realized they were. The lead Krill pointed his weapon at Jake. When he spoke, his voice was cold and mechanical through his helmet speaker. "Human Commander, you will come." As they dragged him away, Jake saw the Volanti homeworld still burning on the viewing screen. The rescue mission had become a massacre, and now Earth would learn what happened when mercy met merciless cruelty in the depths of space. Admiral Kate Thompson sat in the command center at Earth Defense Headquarters, watching the message that had arrived 3 days ago. She had seen it dozens of times, but it never got easier. The recording showed the last moments of the Hope's Dawn before the Krill captured Commander Miller and his crew. The images were clear and terrible, the New Horizon exploding with all hands lost. The Mercy's light burning in space as Dr. Carter's final transmission cut to static. The peaceful, blue world of the Volanti covered in fire and smoke as an entire species was wiped out. "Play the final transmission again," Kate ordered. The technician nodded and started the recording. Commander Miller's voice filled the room, calm despite the chaos around him. "This is Commander Jake Miller of the Earth Rescue Fleet. We came to save lives. The Krill attacked us without warning. They destroyed our medical ships and killed our doctors. They are murdering the Volanti people as I speak. Earth needs to know what happened here. This was not war. This was massacre." The recording ended with explosions and alien voices shouting in the background. Kate closed her eyes. 2,847 people. Doctors, engineers, teachers, volunteers, all dead because they tried to help strangers. President John Hayes walked into the command center, followed by General Ryan Clark and Defense Secretary Carol White. The president looked like he had aged 10 years in the past 3 days. Have you briefed the UN Security Council? The president asked. Yes, sir, Kate replied. They've seen everything, the full recording, sensor logs, and the testimonies from the few survivors we managed to rescue. Only 23 people had survived the attack. A Centauri trader ship had found them floating in escape pods near the edge of the system. They were badly injured and traumatized, but they confirmed what the recording showed. The Krill had laughed while they destroyed the medical ships. What's the public reaction? President Hayes asked. General Clark spoke up. Protests in every major city. People are demanding action. The families of the rescue fleet volunteers are leading the calls for retaliation. Kate had seen the news. Reports. Millions of people gathered in streets around the world holding pictures of the dead volunteers. The footage of Dr. Carter's final moments had been broadcast on every network. Her last words had become a rallying cry. They killed us for trying to heal. Remember that. Sir, Kate said, I've prepared 3 response options for your consideration. The president nodded. Let's hear them. Option 1. Diplomatic protest through the Galactic Council. We file a formal complaint and demand justice through legal channels. Time frame? The president asked. Years, possibly decades, and there's no guarantee the Krill would comply with any ruling. President Hayes shook his head. What else? Option 2. Economic sanctions. We convince other species to cut trade with the Krill Empire. That won't bring back our people, General Clark said grimly. And the Krill don't seem to care much about trade anyway. Kate took a deep breath. Option 3, military response. We mobilize every ship, every weapon, every soldier we have. We find the Krill and we make them pay. The room fell silent. Earth had never fought an interstellar war before. Their military was designed for defense, not conquest. But the images from the Volanti system had changed everything. Defense Secretary White spoke first. Do we have the capability? General Clark nodded. We've been preparing for this possibility since first contact. Our ships are smaller than the Krill battleships, but they're faster and more advanced. Our weapons technology is different from anything they've seen. What about public support? The president asked. Kate activated a wall screen showing news feeds from around the world. Recruitment centers were packed with volunteers. Defense contractors were working around the clock to build new ships and weapons. Scientists were volunteering to develop new military technologies. Sir, we've had more volunteers sign up in the past 3 days than we normally get in a year, Kate reported. Dr. Nathan Pierce has volunteered to lead a weapons development program. The Mars shipyards are offering to triple production. President Hayes walked to the window overlooking Earth's capital. Below, thousands of people held vigil for the dead volunteers. Their signs were simple but clear. Remember the rescue fleet and justice for the fallen. The Krill made a mistake, the president said quietly. They thought we were weak because we came in peace. They thought mercy was the same as cowardice. He turned back to face the military leaders. Admiral Thompson, I'm giving you full authority to organize our response. General Clark, you'll have command of all military operations. Secretary White, redirect whatever resources they need. Kate felt a cold determination settle in her chest. What are our rules of engagement, sir? The Krill showed no mercy to doctors and nurses trying to save lives. They broadcast their massacre like entertainment. They made their choice. The president's voice was hard as steel. Our people went to help strangers and were murdered for their kindness. Show the galaxy what happens when you mistake human compassion for weakness. General Clark stepped forward. Sir, this will be unlike any war Earth has ever fought. We'll be fighting across multiple star systems against an enemy that outnumbers us. Then we'll have to be smarter, faster, and more ruthless than they are, the president replied. The Krill wanted to see what humans do when pushed to the limit. They're about to find out. Kate activated her communicator. This is Admiral Thompson to all fleet commanders. Initiate War Plan Alpha. All leaves are canceled. All ships are to Report for combat preparation immediately. Across Earth and its colonies, alarms began to sound. The peaceful rescue mission had become something else entirely. The species that had reached out in friendship to save strangers was now preparing for war. The Krill had destroyed Earth's rescue fleet, thinking they were dealing with soft, weak creatures who would run at the first sign of violence. They had no idea they had just awakened something far more dangerous than they could imagine. Humanity was about to show the galaxy what happened when someone killed their healers. 6 months after the massacre at the Volanti system, the largest fleet in human history gathered at the edge of Earth's solar system. Admiral Kate Thompson stood on the bridge of the massive dreadnought Retribution, watching 200 warships prepare for humanity's first interstellar war. The fleet was unlike anything Earth had ever built. Gone were the peaceful exploration vessels and scientific research ships. These were weapons of war, designed for one purpose: hunting down and destroying the Krill Empire. Fleet status report, Kate ordered. Captain Alex Turner, her tactical officer, read from his screen. All ships report ready for jump, Admiral. The stealth squadrons are already in position at the first target system. Kate nodded. The plan was simple but deadly. Instead of fighting the Krill in massive space battles, humanity would use hit-and-run tactics. Small groups of fast ships would strike Krill supply lines, communication stations, and isolated outposts. They would make the enemy afraid to travel, alone. Any word from our intelligence network? Kate asked. Commander Maria Santos stepped forward. She led the new intelligence division, created specifically to gather information on Krill movements. We've confirmed the locations of 12 major Krill supply depots. Their fleet movements follow predictable patterns. They're not expecting guerrilla warfare. The Krill fought like most military empires. Big ships, straightforward battles, overwhelming force. They had conquered dozens of species using the same tactics. But humans had studied every war in their history. They knew that sometimes the smaller force could win if it was smarter and more ruthless. What about the psychological warfare program? Kate asked. Lieutenant Colonel Paul Green answered from the communications station. We've been broadcasting the rescue fleet recordings to every system in the sector. The footage of the Krill laughing while they killed our medical teams is being seen by millions of aliens. This was perhaps the most important part of their strategy. The Krill had allies and trading partners throughout the galaxy. But when those species saw how the Krill responded to a peaceful medical mission, many began to question their relationships with the Empire. Admiral, called out Commander Sarah Bell from the navigation station, we're receiving reports from the advance teams. Kate activated the main viewing screen. The image showed Commander Jake Miller, who had been rescued from a Krill prison ship 3 months ago. He now led a special operations unit tasked with striking directly at Krill leadership. Admiral Thompson, this is Miller. Operation Ghost Strike was successful. We've destroyed the Krill command post at Rigel 7. No survivors. Kate felt a cold satisfaction. Jake had volunteered for the most dangerous missions, driven by what he had witnessed at the Volanti system. His unit specialized in infiltrating Krill facilities and eliminating key personnel. Casualties? Kate asked. None on our side, Jake replied. The Krill weren't expecting humans to fight like this. They keep expecting us to announce ourselves and fight honorably. That was the Krill's mistake. They thought all species fought the same way, with formal challenges and direct confrontation. Humans had learned different lessons from their wars. Sometimes honor got your people killed. The next report came from Captain Lisa Ward, who commanded a fast attack squadron. Her ships had been hitting Krill supply convoys for weeks. Admiral, this is Ward. We just took out another supply fleet heading to the Krill front lines. 15 cargo ships destroyed, 2 escort vessels eliminated. We're uploading the tactical data now. Kate studied the battle recordings. The human ships moved like nothing the Krill had ever seen. They appeared from nowhere, struck with devastating precision, and vanished before the enemy could respond. Each attack was planned down to the second. Ma'am, Captain Turner said, we're getting reports that some Krill allies are reconsidering their positions. This was what they had hoped for. The Krill Empire was held together by fear and the promise of shared conquest. But when their allies saw the Empire being systematically dismantled by a smaller enemy, that fear began to work against them. Dr. Nathan Pierce's voice came through the intercom from the research division. "Admiral, the new weapon systems are ready for field testing. The Krill energy shields can't stop our latest plasma cannons." Kate smiled grimly. Earth scientists had worked around the clock to develop weapons specifically designed to counter Krill technology. Every captured ship, every piece of enemy equipment had been studied and analyzed. "Admiral," Communications Officer Amy Brooks called out from her station. She had survived the rescue fleet massacre and volunteered for the war fleet. "I'm picking up Krill military communications. They're calling for reinforcements at all their major bases." "They're scared," Turner observed. 6 months ago they thought humans were weak. Now they're pulling their forces back to defend their homeworlds. Kate walked to the main viewer, which showed the star map of Krill space. Red markers indicated confirmed enemy positions. Blue markers showed human strike teams already in position. The web was closing. "All ships," Kate announced over the fleet channel. "The hunt has begun. For 6 months we've been showing the Krill what happens when you mistake mercy for weakness. Now we show them what happens when you kill our healers." The massive fleet began to move, each ship heading to its assigned target. Some would strike military bases, others would attack supply lines. The stealth ships would eliminate communication networks and spy stations. Commander Miller's voice came through one final time before his ship jumped to hyperspace. "Admiral, message from the crew. We're ending this transmission with the names of our fallen." Jake began reading the names of everyone who died in the rescue fleet. 2,847 names, read slowly and clearly so the Krill monitoring their communications would hear everyone. As the last name was spoken, the human fleet scattered across the galaxy like a plague of vengeance. The Krill had taught humanity a terrible lesson about the price of compassion in a hostile universe. Now humanity was returning that lesson with interest. 1 year after the massacre at the Volanti system, the human fleet arrived at Zephyros Prime, the capital world of the Krill Empire. Admiral Kate Thompson stood on the bridge of the Retribution, looking at the heavily defended planet that had been the center of Krill power for 3 centuries. "Status report," Kate ordered. Captain Alex Turner checked his displays. "The planet has orbital defense platforms, 300 defensive ships, and energy shields protecting all major cities. They're ready for a direct assault." Kate smiled coldly. "Good thing we're not giving them one." For 12 months humanity had been systematically destroying the Krill Empire piece by piece. Supply lines cut, communication networks destroyed, military bases eliminated. Ally species had abandoned the Krill when they saw the footage of the rescue fleet massacre. Now the Empire was reduced to its core worlds, and Zephyros Prime was the heart of what remained. "Begin Phase 1, Kate commanded. Instead of attacking the planet directly, the human fleet spread out across the system. They targeted the orbital factories that built Krill ships. They destroyed the space stations that coordinated trade. They eliminated the communication satellites that connected Zephyros Prime to the rest of their shrinking empire. High Commander Vextar, the Krill leader who had ordered the attack on the rescue fleet, watched from his command bunker as his defenses prepared to repel the human assault. He had been expecting this day since the humans began their campaign of revenge. "Status of the human fleet?" Vextar demanded. His tactical officer studied the displays. "They're not attacking our defenses, Commander. They're targeting our infrastructure, power plants, communication arrays, supply depots." Vextar's mandibles clicked in confusion. "Why aren't they attacking our military installations?" On the human flagship, Kate was implementing a strategy the Krill had never seen before. Instead of trying to destroy their military, humanity was destroying their ability to function as a civilization. "Admiral," reported Commander Maria Santos, "we've eliminated their primary power grid. The capital city is running on emergency, power only. Food processing centers destroyed," added Lieutenant Colonel Paul Green. "Their water treatment facilities are offline." Kate nodded. "Continue the systematic shutdown. I want their leaders to understand what it feels like to watch their world die slowly." Commander Jake Miller's voice came through from his assault ship. "Admiral, we're in position outside the command bunker, ready to begin the final phase." Jake had led the mission to capture the Krill leadership alive. After a year of hunting them across the galaxy, humanity wanted to look their enemies in the eye and deliver justice personally. "Proceed, Commander," Kate authorized. Jake's special forces team infiltrated the bunker using human stealth technology the Krill couldn't detect. They moved through the underground complex like shadows, neutralizing guards and disabling security systems. High Commander Vextar was in his command center when the lights went out. Emergency power kicked in, bathing everything in red light. His guards raised their weapons, but there was nothing to shoot at. "Surrender," came a voice from the darkness. Jake Miller stepped into the light, flanked by his soldiers. "You're under arrest for genocide." Vextar's mandibles spread in what passed for a Krill smile. "You think you've won, human? You think killing me will bring back your dead?" Jake's expression didn't change. "We're not here to kill you. We're here to make you answer for what you did." The Krill commander was confused. His species solved problems through violence and dominance. The concept of justice was foreign to him. "I don't understand," Vextar said. "You defeated us. Take what you want and go." Jake stepped closer. "What we want is for you to understand what you destroyed. You didn't attack soldiers or warriors. You attacked doctors and teachers who came to help strangers." On the surface, Admiral Thompson was coordinating the final phase of the occupation. Krill military units were surrendering across the planet as their command structure collapsed. "Admiral," Captain Turner reported, "we're receiving surrender signals from the remaining Krill fleets in nearby systems. Without their central command, they're giving up." Kate activated the planetary communication system, broadcasting to every Krill citizen on Zephyros Prime. Her voice echoed through the darkened cities and silent factories. "People of the Krill Empire, this is Admiral Kate Thompson of the Human Space Forces. Your military attacked and destroyed a peaceful medical mission. They murdered 2,947 volunteers who came to save lives. Today, your empire ends." In the command bunker, Jake forced Vextar to watch recordings from the rescue fleet massacre. The Krill commander saw his own orders being carried out, watched his soldiers laugh as they destroyed medical ships. "This is what you chose," Jake said quietly. "This is why we're here." For the first time, Vextar seemed to understand the magnitude of what he had done. The humans hadn't come for conquest or resources. They had come for justice. "The trial will be held here on your homeworld," Jake continued. "Representatives from every species in the sector will witness your judgment." 3 months later, the trials concluded. The surviving Krill leadership was found guilty of genocide and crimes against sapient beings. The Krill Empire was dissolved, its military disbanded, and its former slave species liberated. On the site where the Krill command bunker once stood, humanity built a memorial. The names of all 2,947 rescue fleet volunteers were carved in stone, along with the names of the billions of Volanti who died in the massacre. Admiral Thompson stood at the memorial's dedication ceremony, surrounded by representatives from dozens of alien species. The galaxy had learned an important lesson about humanity. "Let this stand as a reminder," Kate said to the assembled crowd. "Humanity will always extend a hand in friendship. We will always try to heal rather than harm. But those who mistake our compassion for weakness, those who kill our healers and murder innocents, will face our justice." The memorial's inscription was simple but clear. They came in peace to save lives. They died showing the galaxy who we are. We remember them by showing who we choose to be. As the ceremony ended, the first new rescue mission launched from Earth orbit, escorted by a full battle fleet. Humanity had learned that in a dangerous galaxy, mercy needed to be protected by strength, but they would never stop trying to heal the universe, one life at a time.